Welcome to Auto Mundial, the weekly car news and review show.
This time we're looking at Porsche's wildest 911 yet, the 80s-inspired Dakar.
We also have the new Vauxhall Astra,
plus a luxury SUV from Korea and a cut-price alternative from France. That's all coming up later. Up first, the news.
UK startup British Volt has gone into administration despite recent additional funding. The EV component company had planned to build a £3.8 billion gigafactory in the northeast of England as a hub for electric vehicle batteries and parts. The staff of approximately 300 people is to be made redundant after the board decided there was no way to continue with the project. British Volt had agreements with both Lotus and Aston Martin to develop their respective EV technologies. The Northumberland plant was a key part of the UK government's levelling up policy under Boris Johnson, but delays and lack of funding forced the company to look for more funding in late 2022.
In the land of biggest is best, there's a class of full-size SUVs that dwarfs the Range Rovers and X5s we think are big in Europe. Chevrolet Tahoes, Jeep Wagoneers, and this from Ford, the latest Expedition. At a whopping 5.1 metres long, it's the biggest car in Ford's lineup. But if you want even more space, you can order a long wheelbase version, which adds another 50 centimetres. There are 3 rows of seats, each of which provides ample head and legroom for adults, and of course the boot is huge. Interestingly though, the engine isn't. Unlike its rivals, the big Ford does without a V8, instead using its tried and tested 3.5 litre EcoBoost V6 in various states of tune. In its most powerful guise, the Expedition produces 440 horsepower, and can accelerate surprisingly fast despite its bulk with a 10-speed autobox. Both rear and four-wheel drive models are available, with a maximum towing capacity of just over 4 tonnes. There are plenty of trim levels on offer, topping out with the impressively quick Stealth model, which can hit 60 miles an hour from rest in just 5 seconds. The cabin gets better the further up the price list you go, but even the fanciest offerings feel a little dated compared with the Wagoneer and GMC Yukon. There are some nice leather options to choose from though, and a huge 15.5-inch portrait infotainment screen on high-spec cars, with Ford's Sync 4 software. It receives over-the-air updates and features both Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. The maximum gas mileage you can expect is 22 US mpg. That's roughly 26 in the UK, and you can expect that to worsen significantly when you're towing. So, this isn't exactly an environmentalist's first choice, but for those that need the most spacious and practical 4x4 out there, look no further than the Ford Expedition.
The new Vauxhall Astra is here, and doesn't it look good? Since the original Astra launched way back in the 1980s, it's never really been much of a style icon. Cars like the Golf and the Focus have always seemed a bit more desirable, but this new 8th generation car might just change that. Showcasing the brand's visor grille that we've seen in the new Mocha, the new Astra looks incredibly distinctive and, dare we say, better looking than the latest Volkswagen Golf. The rest of the design impresses too, with a contrasting roof and slim tail lights with on-trend Astra script across the boot lid. It's a world away from the old car, but it'll need to do more than just look good to remain competitive against 2 of the best-selling cars in Europe. To ensure its future-proof popularity, an EV version is on the way, but for now buyers have plenty of powertrain options to choose from. Base models come with a 1.2-litre 3-cylinder petrol motor that can be had with either 108 or 128 brake horsepower, and both are predictably lethargic but economical, capable of up to 52 miles per gallon. Next up is the diesel, again producing 128 brake horsepower and this time achieving upwards of 64 miles per gallon. The bigger the bunch though is the plug-in hybrid. It pairs an electric motor with a 1.6 4-pot petrol motor, producing a combined 178 brake horsepower. 0 to 62 miles per hour is dealt with in 7.7 seconds with a top speed of 144. It gets an electric-only range of 35 miles, giving an official WLTP figure of up to 257 mpg, depending on the spec. On paper then, the Astra looks like it might be in with a shout of topping the family hatchback tables, but to do that, it needs to take on this: the new Ford Focus.
We say new, but really it's just had a bit of a facelift. The front end has been totally redesigned with a new look in line with that of the latest Fiesta. Like a lot of new cars that we've seen in the last couple of years, it gets a big new grille housing the blue oval badge. The nose of the car is higher while the new LED headlights are slimmer and more aggressive. Changes at the rear are much less obvious, with the optional LED rear lights gaining a darker tint. The key to the Focus success is the way it drives. Even the most basic models with their simple torsion beam rear suspension handles sweetly, while the wide range of engine options is more than a match for the Vauxhall. And then of course there's this hatchback royalty, the Volkswagen Golf. Like the Astra, the Golf is now in its 8th generation. As ever with VW's perennial bestseller, there's a wide range of engines to choose from, ranging from a tiny 89 brake horsepower 1 litre to the 320 horsepower Golf R. However, an annoying infotainment system and lack of physical buttons are a pain day to day, and the build quality gulf between Volkswagen and its rivals just isn't there anymore. And that's a real shame, as the styling has grown on us since we first saw it in 2019, and its on-road manners are still up there with the very best.
It seems then that this is the Astra's time to shine. With its diverse selection of powertrains and its striking good looks, 2023 might finally be the year that Ford and VW really have to worry.
The new Renault Kangu is here. As ever, it's a quirky little van-based MPV that puts practicality and value for money above all else. Only the third generation of Kangu since it was introduced in 1997, the new model has been completely redesigned, with a smart new front end that mimics other cars in the brand's range, with plenty of chrome and some horizontal daytime running lights, which set it apart from rivals from Peugeot and Vauxhall. The interior has been completely modernised too, and is a welcome change from the dated cabin of the old car. While it isn't going to be troubling any Mercs or BMWs, it's up to date and smart, with a big central infotainment screen with smartphone connectivity and all the features you'd expect in a brand new car. There are more interior storage cubbies than ever before, and the gear lever has been moved further back for improved ergonomics and bigger cup holders. The engine lineup consists of a sole petrol option and a 1.5 diesel in 3 states of tune, as well as a fully electric version called the Kangu E-Tech. Like the previous model, the E-Tech will share its powertrain with the Zoe, which means it's good for 101 brake horsepower and a range of about 185 miles, thanks to a 44 kWh battery. With rivals like the Citroën Berlingo and Vauxhall Combo leading the class, it's about time that Renault updated its ageing Kangu. Van-based MPVs like this might be a rare sight on British roads these days, but they continue to be popular in Europe, and the Kangu deserves to be among the best sellers.
After the break, Porsche lets loose with its all-new off-road 911. Still to come, Porsche's new 911 Dakar. But first,
For years now, the luxury SUV class has been dominated by the usual suspects: Land Rover, BMW, Mercedes. We generally know what to expect from them when a new 4x4 model is launched. But now they have some new competition in the form of this, the Genesis GV80. As with other new models we've seen from Hyundai's luxury sub-brand, the GV80 certainly looks the part. The Bentley-esque winged badge might not have the pedigree as some of its European rivals, but it looks right at home among the school-run queues of X5s and Land Rover Discoveries. But can a Genesis really be mentioned in the same breath as the class favourite Discovery? We'll take a look inside and we cannot see why not. It's all leather-lined and fantastically high quality. The switchgear is knurled as you get in a Bentley, while the widescreen infotainment system looks as crisp and as up-to-date as anything from Europe. But be warned, there's a £15,000 price gulf between the 59 grand entry-level car and the top spec model, so choose carefully. It's available with either 5 or 7 seats, although the third row isn't quite as spacious as the Land Rover Discoveries. Under the bonnet, you get a choice of 2 engines, a 2.5 litre petrol and a 3 litre diesel. The petrol motor produces 300 bhp, getting the GV80 from 0 to 62 in 7.7 seconds. It isn't rapid, but this is a 2.2-tonne SUV. The diesel is slightly heavier again, but despite its 25 bhp power disadvantage, it will hit 62.2 seconds quicker, thanks to a healthy extra dollop of torque. And it is the diesel that appears to be the one to go for, especially with its noise-cancelling tech, meaning you don't need to worry about the extra noise while its 143 mph top speed is plenty.
But how does it stack up against our favourite 7-seat premium SUV, the Land Rover Discovery? Fresh off the back of a recent facelift, the Disco still isn't winning any beauty contests, but what it lacks in elegance and indeed symmetry, it makes up for with its ability and practicality. The styling changes are very subtle, and sadly for some, the awkward-looking off-centre rear number plate remains unchanged, with a repositioned Discovery badging doing little to divert the eye. The Discovery's interior was already one of our favourites in this class, but now it's even better with Land Rover's new Pithy Pro infotainment system on a bigger 11-inch screen, and a few styling tweaks here and there, including some new controls for the heating and aircon. Under the bonnet, the Discovery gets a new host of engines, with an array of JLR's latest 4 and 6 cylinders. The petrol range kicks off with the 2-litre P300 producing 296 bhp, while a bigger 3-litre motor rounds off the petrol options with 355 bhp thanks to an electric supercharger and mild hybrid system. This is the fastest model on offer, hitting 62 mph from rest in 6.5 seconds. The diesel selection consists of a 3-litre 6-cylinder mild hybrid with either 247 or 296 brake horsepower and a towing capacity of up to 3.5 tonnes. All models come with an 8-speed autobox and naturally 4-wheel drive. And that's where the Discovery aims to stand apart from its rivals. It comes with Land Rover's tried and tested Terrain Response 2 system that automatically optimises the car for whatever surface you happen to be driving on.
It's even slightly cheaper than the Genesis, with prices starting at about £2,000 less. The Land Rover then is still a great choice, but with the brand's troubling reputation for unreliability, we can see why some buyers might look elsewhere. And for those that don't want a green oval, the Genesis is a great alternative.
The Dakar Rally is one of the toughest, most grueling endurance events on the planet. Taking on thousands of kilometres across harsh desert, it's a mammoth challenge for both driver and machine. In 1984, the Paris-Dakar was won by the Porsche 953. An extensively modified 911 built for the dunes of North Africa. And now, paying homage to the 80s original, there's a new off-road 911, and you can actually buy one. Despite its selection of tribute rallying paint jobs, the new 911 Dakar is a high-riding sports car for those who prefer green lanes to the green hell. Starting at a lofty £173,000, Porsche will build 2,500 Dakars, although we don't imagine all of them will be specced with the nostalgic £18,000 Rough Roads livery. There are 3 other tribute wraps available, each significantly cheaper but no less eye-catching. Regular, unstickered paint colours are also available. But the Dakar is so much more than just a retro throwback to Porsche's rallying heyday. It's based on the Carrera 4 GTS, meaning it gets a 473 brake horsepower 3-litre twin-turbo flat-6 at the back, all-wheel drive and an 8-speed PDK gearbox. It'll hit 62 miles per hour from rest in 3.5 seconds, onto a limited top speed of 149. That might seem a little low compared with regular 911s, but any faster and the all-terrain tyres would burst. The key to this car's off-road makeover, though, is the new suspension. The Dakar sits 50mm higher than a standard Carrera, raising by a further 30mm for what Porsche describes as ambitious off-roading. In its highest setting, the top speed is limited to 106, after which it'll squat back down again to its standard height. To help this delicate sports car stay in one piece on the trails, the engineers raided the GT3 parts bin for its dynamic engine mounts, while the rear wheel steering and dynamic chassis control and GT3 bonnet have also been borrowed. Until now, the thought of even a Cayenne, Porsche's most rugged SUV, ever venturing off the beaten track was laughable. But the Dakar really is built to be abused. There are 2 bespoke driving modes, rally and off-road. The former sets the car up for fast and loose surface driving, sending most of the power to the rear wheels for some grin-inducing oversteer. The second mode optimises ground clearance and traction. There's even a special rally launch control system designed to get you off the line as quickly as possible, even in the slippiest of conditions. To complete the 4x4 makeover, there's an optional roof rack, LED lighting and even a roof tent. To keep the weight down, much of the bodywork is made from carbon fibre reinforced plastic, meaning it only weighs 10 kilos more than a Carrera 4 GTS, despite its underbody protection, big wheels and a roll cage. Speaking of which, the Dakar is a strict two-seater, with carbon-backed bucket seats adding to the motorsport flavour. There's an abundance of Porsche's race text upholstery, while Dakar logos complete the interior alterations. Whether any Dakar buyers dare take their six-figure Porsches off-road remains to be seen, but with deliveries starting this summer, we certainly hope to see one or two getting muddy sooner rather than later.
Join us again next week on Auto Mundial as we put Arctic Truck's latest Isuzu D-Max through its paces.